Before we begin, take a second to like this episode, follow the podcast, and stay with us till the end, because today's topic can quietly change the way you speak English every single day. All right, let's jump in. Mike, let me ask you something personal. Do you remember the moment you realized you were translating in your head every time you spoke English?
Oh, I remember it painfully well. I didn't realize it at first, though. I just thought I was slow. I'd hear a question, smile, nod, and inside my head there was chaos. My first language was talking, English was waiting, and I was stuck in the middle, feeling stupid.
That feeling, it's heavy. And the worst part is, people listening to you don't hear the chaos. They just hear silence, or short answers, or that nervous laugh people do when they're buying time.
Yeah, that laugh. I used it a lot. And here's the strange thing. I knew the grammar. I knew the words. If you gave me a pen and paper, I could write a decent answer. But speaking felt like running while carrying a heavy bag full of translations.
That's such a good image because that's what translating does. It adds weight. And today, we're not here to shame that habit because almost everyone does it at the beginning. We're here to talk about how to speak without translating, and more importantly, how it feels when you start letting go of it.
And let's be honest, this topic scares people. Some listeners are probably thinking, wait, if I don't translate, what am I supposed to do? Just open my mouth and hope English comes out?
I love that question because it shows the fear behind it. The fear isn't about English, it's about control. Translating feels safe. It feels like a bridge, but sometimes that bridge slows you down so much that you never reach the other side.
I used to believe that translating was proof I was learning. Like, if I could convert a sentence from my language into English, then I was doing something smart. But speaking doesn't work like math. You don't solve it step by step.
And this is where a lot of learners get stuck for years. They don't sound bad, they don't sound wrong, they just don't sound free. You can hear the effort in their voice, like every sentence costs energy.
I want to say something important here for beginners listening. If you're A1 or A2 and you're thinking, this sounds impossible, relax. You already speak without translating sometimes. You just don't notice it.
Yes, and we'll get to that. But first, let's slow down and be real. Translating in your head usually shows up in very normal moments. Someone asks, "How was your day?" And instead of answering, your brain says, "Okay, first, what is day? What is was? What tense is this? How do I say my answer politely?"
And by the time you're ready, the moment is gone. Or the other person helps you by changing the question. And that hurts, even if they're being kind.
It hurts because you wanted to say something real, not perfect, real. And that's the heart of this episode. Speaking without translating isn't about sounding advanced, it's about sounding human.
And feeling human while you speak. Less pressure in your chest, less panic, more flow, even if the sentence isn't perfect.
So if you're listening right now and thinking, this is me, good, you're in the right place. We're going to talk honestly, slowly, and deeply about how to move away from translating without forcing yourself, without pretending, and without that empty advice like just think in English.
Because if that advice worked, none of us would be here listening to this episode.
Let's talk about what translating really looks like in daily life, because people imagine it as this neat process, but in reality, it's messy, emotional, and usually invisible to everyone except the speaker.
Yeah, and it often shows up in small moments, not big speeches. Like when someone asks you a simple question and your brain suddenly feels crowded.
Exactly. Like someone says, "What do you want to eat?" and instead of feeling hungry, you feel stressed. You're not thinking about food anymore. You're thinking about words.
I remember standing in a cafe once, holding the menu, and I knew what I wanted. I could see it. I could almost taste it. But my mind was busy translating a full sentence instead of just saying the name of the drink.
And then comes the pressure, the line behind you, the barista waiting, your heart starts beating faster. Suddenly, English feels like a test, not a language.
That's when people freeze, or they say something very small, like this one, or just coffee, even if they wanted to say more.
And afterward, you replay it in your head. You think, I could have said that. I knew that word. Why didn't it come out?
That replay is painful. It makes people believe they're bad speakers when actually they were just overloaded.
Translating overloads your brain because you're doing 3 things at the same time. You're listening, you're converting, and you're judging yourself.
That judging part is brutal. While you're still translating, there's this voice saying, don't make a mistake, don't sound stupid, hurry up.
And conversations don't wait. Real conversations move, they breathe, they interrupt, they change direction. Translation doesn't like that. Translation wants time.
This is why people often feel more confident speaking with teachers than with real people. Teachers wait, life doesn't.
Yes, a teacher might smile and say, take your time. A coworker or stranger usually doesn't say anything, but you feel the silence.
And silence feels loud when you're translating.
Another common situation is when someone jokes. Jokes are fast. They rely on feeling, not structure. If you translate a joke, it's already dead.
I've laughed late so many times. Everyone laughs, I translate, then I laugh 2 seconds later and feel like I arrived at the party after it ended.
That late laugh carries embarrassment, and embarrassment makes people quieter next time.
That's important. Translating doesn't just slow your speech, it slowly trains you to speak less.
And that's the danger. People think, I'll talk when my English is better, but English gets better when you talk.
So we have this loop. You translate because you're afraid, you speak less because you translate, and you improve slower because you speak less.
And none of this means you're lazy or untalented. It means your brain is using a tool that helped at the beginning, but now it's holding you back.
Like training wheels you forgot to remove.
Yes, useful once, heavy later.
I want to say something important here for beginners listening. If you're A1 or A2 and you're thinking, this sounds impossible, relax. You already speak without translating sometimes. You just don't notice it.
Yes, and we'll get to that. But first, let's slow down and be real. Translating in your head usually shows up in very normal moments. Someone asks, how was your day? And instead of answering, your brain says, okay, first, what is day? What is was? What tense is this? How do I say my answer politely?
And by the time you're ready, the moment is gone. Or the other person helps you by changing the question, and that hurts, even if they're being kind.
It hurts because you wanted to say something real, not perfect, real. And that's the heart of this episode. Speaking without translating isn't about sounding advanced, it's about sounding human.
And feeling human while you speak. Less pressure in your chest, less panic, more flow, even if the sentence isn't perfect.
So if you're listening right now and thinking, this is me, good, you're in the right place. We're going to talk honestly, slowly, and deeply about how to move away from translating without forcing yourself, without pretending, and without that empty advice like just think in English.
Because if that advice worked, none of us would be here listening to this episode.
Let's talk about what translating really looks like in daily life, because people imagine it as this neat process, but in reality, it's messy, emotional, and usually invisible to everyone except the speaker.
Yeah, and it often shows up in small moments, not big speeches, like when someone asks you a simple question and your brain suddenly feels crowded.
Exactly. Like someone says, what do you want to eat? And instead of feeling hungry, you feel stressed. You're not thinking about food anymore. You're thinking about words.
I remember standing in a cafe once, holding the menu, and I knew what I wanted. I could see it. I could almost taste it. But my mind was busy translating a full sentence instead of just saying the name of the drink.
And then comes the pressure, the line behind you, the barista waiting, your heart starts beating faster. Suddenly, English feels like a test, not a language.
That's when people freeze, or they say something very small, like this one, or just coffee, even if they wanted to say more.
And afterward, you replay it in your head. You think, I could have said that. I knew that word. Why didn't it come out?
That replay is painful. It makes people believe they're bad speakers when actually they were just overloaded.
Translating overloads your brain because you're doing 3 things at the same time. You're listening, you're converting, and you're judging yourself.
That judging part is brutal. While you're still translating, there's this voice saying, don't make a mistake, don't sound stupid, hurry up.
And conversations don't wait. Real conversations move, they breathe, they interrupt, they change direction. Translation doesn't like that. Translation wants time.
This is why people often feel more confident speaking with teachers than with real people.
When you hear English, your brain doesn't panic because of English. It panics because it thinks it has 2 jobs. First job, understand. Second job, convert. And conversion takes time.
Imagine someone throws you a ball, and instead of catching it, you stop and ask yourself how catching works. That pause is translation.
Yes. Your brain goes, okay, I heard a sentence. Now let me send it to my first language, understand it there, build an answer there, and then send it back to English.
That round trip is long, and while your brain is traveling, the conversation is moving forward without you.
This is why people say, I know the answer, but I can't say it fast. The answer exists, it's just stuck in traffic.
For ESL learners, this is important to hear. Speed does not mean intelligence. Speed means familiarity.
Let's give a very simple example. Someone asks you, are you tired? If you translate, your brain might say, are equals question, tired means no energy, present tense, okay, how do I answer politely?
But when you don't translate, you just feel your body. You feel tired or not tired, and the word yes or no comes out naturally.
That feeling-based response is key. Language started as feeling and action, not grammar.
Here's another example for beginners. If someone says, sit down, you don't translate that sentence. Your body moves. That's understanding without words inside your head.
Exactly. And this proves something important. Your brain already understands English directly. You just don't trust it yet.
Trust is the missing piece.
And trust grows through small moments, not big speeches. Small reactions, like saying, wow, really? Oh no, that sounds nice.
Those are powerful because they skip translation. You react before you think.
For ESL learners listening, here's something practical. When you don't understand something, you don't need to translate your confusion either. You can say, sorry, can you repeat? Or, I don't understand yet.
Or even simpler, you can say, one more time, please. Short sentences reduce pressure.
And notice the word yet. Saying, I don't understand yet keeps the door open. It tells your brain learning is happening.
There's also something emotional here. Translating makes you feel separate from the conversation, like you're watching yourself speak.
Yes, like you're outside your own voice. Speaking without translating brings you back inside. You feel present. You feel included.
That feeling matters more than perfect sentences.
I want to pause here and ask you something directly, because this moment is important. When you speak English, what situations make you translate the most? Like talking to strangers, answering fast questions, or explaining your opinion? Write your answer in the comments.
That reflection helps. Once you know when translation happens, you can prepare for those moments emotionally, not just linguistically.
And from now on, we'll start giving you clearer examples and habits you can use step by step to move away from translation without forcing yourself.
We're not removing your safety net. We're teaching you how to loosen it.
One of the biggest myths in language learning is this sentence people love to say. You must think in English. It sounds powerful, but for most learners, it creates pressure instead of progress.
Yeah, when I first heard that advice, I thought, okay, how? Do I wake up one day and my brain just changes language?
And when it doesn't happen, you feel like you're doing something wrong. But the truth is, you don't need to force your thoughts to be in English. You need to change how you respond.
That difference is huge. Thinking is private. Speaking is action.
Exactly. For ESL learners, especially A1 to B1, forcing English thoughts often leads to silence. Your brain freezes because it's trying to be perfect before it speaks.
And perfection is slow.
Let's break this down with an example. Imagine someone asks you, "What did you do yesterday?" If you try to think in English, your brain might go empty.
But if you think in pictures, it's different. You see yourself at home. You see food. You see your phone. You see sleep.
And from those pictures, words come. Maybe not a perfect sentence, but something real. I stayed home. I ate. I watched videos.
That's speaking without translating. You're not converting sentences. You're describing life.
This is important. Language is not a code you unlock. It's a tool you use to point at meaning.
Another myth is that stopping translation means your first language disappears. That's not true. It just steps back when it's not needed.
And it comes back when it is. Reading, writing, learning new words, explaining ideas. Your first language is still there. It's just not driving every sentence.
For beginners listening, here's a helpful habit. When you speak, allow short sentences. Short sentences reduce translation.
Yes, long ideas can be broken. Instead of translating a full paragraph in your head, you speak one idea, then the next.
Like saying, I was tired, so I stayed home. I watched TV. Simple doesn't mean childish, it means clear.
Another helpful thing is using ready phrases. These are phrases you don't build, you just use them.
For example, I think so. I'm not sure. That makes sense. Can you help me?
These phrases act like bridges. They give you time without silence, and they sound natural.
Emotion also helps here. When you feel something strongly, translation weakens.
Yes. If you're surprised, you say really without thinking. If you're happy, you say nice or great.
So instead of forcing English thoughts, connect English to feeling, action, and reaction.
That's how children learn. They don't translate, they respond.
And adults can relearn that skill slowly and kindly.
In the next part, we'll show this in a real conversation between two people with different speaking speeds, so you can hear the difference, not just understand it.
You'll hear hesitation, emotion, and how flow starts to appear.
Let's make this real now. I want to show what this sounds like in a conversation. Not a perfect one, but an honest one, with different speeds and feelings.
And if you recognize yourself in it, that's a good sign.
Imagine two people talking after work. One speaks slowly and carefully. The other speaks faster and more freely. They both know English, but they use it differently.
Okay, I'll be the slower speaker first.
So I might say, "Hey Mike, how was work today?"
It was, how can I say, busy, very busy, many things to do.
And notice something here. Mike knows what he wants to say, but you can hear the searching.
Yeah, inside my head, I'm building a sentence. I'm checking it. I'm afraid to move too fast.
Now let's change one thing. Same question, but you answer without translating everything.
It was busy. Too many meetings. I'm tired now.
That answer is shorter, but it feels more alive.
And lighter. I didn't try to explain everything. I just shared the feeling.
Exactly. Speaking without translating often means saying less, but saying it faster and with more confidence.
Now let's switch roles. You be the slower one.
Okay, you ask me something.
What did you do last weekend?
Last weekend I was thinking I stayed at home and I watched movies and
I can hear the translation happening.
yes, I'm trying to make the sentence correct instead of real.
Now try again, but focus on the picture, not the sentence.
Weekend. Home. Movies. Rest. I didn't go out.
That sounds natural, not perfect grammar, but clear.
And emotionally, it feels easier. My body relaxes when I stop translating.
This is important for ESL learners. Fluency is not speed. Fluency is comfort.
And comfort comes when you allow imperfection.
Another thing you may notice is that fast speakers pause too. They just pause differently.
Yes, they pause after meaning, not before it.
Slower speakers often pause before speaking because they're translating.
Faster speakers start, then adjust.
Like saying, I went to, actually no, I stayed home.
That self-correction sounds natural. Translation avoids mistakes, but also avoids flow.
And flow matters more in real conversations.
Let's add emotion. Imagine you're frustrated.
Then I might say, work was crazy today. I'm exhausted.
That sentence came fast because the emotion pushed it out.
Emotion is fuel. Translation is a brake.
Beautifully said.
So if you're listening and thinking, I'm slow, remember this. You're not slow, you're careful.
And careful is okay, but at some point you need to let go a little to move forward.
In the next part, we'll talk about how to build meaning without translating, using daily life, not textbooks.
Now let's talk about how to build meaning without translating, because this is where people think magic happens, but it's actually very practical and very human.
Yeah, there's no trick. It's more like changing what you pay attention to.
When you translate, you pay attention to words first. When you don't translate, you pay attention to situations.
Situations are powerful because they already carry meaning. You don't need full sentences to understand them.
Let's say you walk into a room and it's very cold. Someone asks you, "How is it in there?" You don't need to translate that question deeply.
You feel the cold, so you say, it's cold, very cold.
That's meaning first, language second.
For ESL learners, this is helpful. Before you speak, ask yourself, what is happening? Not, how do I say this perfectly?
Here's another example. Imagine you're late. Someone says, "Why are you late?" Your body already knows the answer.
Stress, rushing, traffic.
So you can say, "Sorry, traffic," or "Bus was late." Those sentences come from the situation, not translation.
And they sound real because they are real.
And this also works for opinions. You don't need long explanations.
If someone asks, do you like this movie? You can say, yes, I like it. It's funny. Or, no, too slow.
Short reactions are natural. Native speakers use them all the time.
Another technique is to use actions instead of descriptions when possible.
For example, instead of translating, "I am looking for the bathroom," you can say, "Where is the bathroom?" and point.
Pointing is communication too.
And pointing reduces pressure. Pressure is what makes translation stronger.
For beginners, here's some light language support. When you don't understand, you can say, sorry, what is this? Or, can you show me?
Or, "Can you speak slowly, please?" These phrases protect you from panic.
Panic blocks understanding. Calm opens it.
Another important idea is accepting silence inside your sentence.
Yes, you don't need to plan the whole sentence before you start.
You can start with, "I think," pause. It's good.
That pause is not a failure. It's thinking in real time.
Translation tries to finish the sentence before it starts. Speaking doesn't work that way.
Real speech is messy, and that mess is okay.
One more example. If you want to say you don't agree, you don't need a translation of a long explanation.
You can say, I'm not sure, or I don't think so.
Those phrases are soft and natural. They give you space.
And space gives you confidence.
In the next part, we'll show something interesting. Words you already use without translating, even if you think you don't.
Yeah, it's like realizing you've been swimming for a while, even though you thought you were just standing in the water.
Let's start very simple. When someone says, "Hello," do you translate it?
No, you just answer.
When someone says thank you, you don't stop and think about meaning. You say, "You're welcome," or "yeah," or "sure."
Same with sorry, same with okay, same with numbers, names, places.
Coffee, taxi, phone, email. These words don't pass through your first language anymore. They go straight in.
And that's important because it proves your brain can build direct connections.
Many ESL learners believe, I translate everything. But that's not true. You translate the parts you don't trust yet.
Trust grows with repetition and emotion.
Let's take reactions. Someone says, that exam was hard. You say, yeah, or, oh no.
Those sounds come out naturally. You don't plan them.
Even laughter is language. Even silence is communication.
This means the goal is not to stop translating completely. The goal is to increase the number of moments where translation is not needed.
Exactly. You don't break the habit. You replace it slowly.
For beginners listening, here's something helpful. Pay attention to what comes out fast.
If a word comes out fast, don't analyze it. Celebrate it.
And then build around it. For example, you say, okay, then you add, okay, I understand.
Or you say, sorry. Then, sorry, I'm late.
This layering builds confidence without pressure.
Another thing people don't notice is how often they already think in images, not words.
Like when someone says pizza, you see pizza. You don't translate pizza.
Language sticks when it connects to senses, sight, sound, taste.
That's why textbook sentences are harder to speak. They don't live anywhere in your body.
Real words live in experiences. Coffee lives in smell. Rain lives on skin. Tired lives in your shoulders.
When you connect English to those feelings, translation loses power.
And emotionally, this matters. When learners realize, I'm not starting from zero, their shoulders drop. Their voice relaxes.
That relaxed voice sounds better even with simple English.
In the next part, we'll talk about how to train this in daily life, outside the classroom, without extra study time.
Small habits that fit into real days.
Let's talk about daily life, because this is where speaking without translating really grows. Not in notebooks, not in long study sessions, but in small, quiet moments.
And the good news is, you don't need extra time. You just need to use moments you already have.
One powerful habit is self-talk, but not the kind where you give yourself a speech. Very simple, very natural.
Like when you're doing something, you name it. You don't explain it.
You're making tea. You say, tea. Hot. Careful.
You're tired. You say, I'm tired. Long day.
This is not practice for someone else. This is practice for your brain.
And because there's no pressure, translation gets weaker.
Another habit is labeling. When you see something, you name it in English without making a sentence.
Chair, window, phone, traffic.
Single words build direct connections.
Then later, those words come out faster in conversation.
Another powerful habit is reacting instead of explaining.
Yes, if something good happens, say, nice, that's great.
If something bad happens, say, oh no, that's annoying.
Emotion language is speedy language. Emotion speeds up access.
For ESL learners, here's some light support. If you don't understand someone, don't translate the whole sentence in your head first.
You can say, sorry? Or, can you say that again?
Or, slowly, please. These phrases keep the conversation alive.
Another daily habit is repeating, but not in a boring way.
If someone says, the meeting is canceled, you can say, canceled? Okay.
That repetition checks understanding and buys time.
And it sounds natural.
Also, notice how native speakers use simple language in daily life.
They speak in pieces, fragments, feelings.
Learning to accept fragments in your own speech is freeing.
One more habit is to stop translating your mistakes.
Yes, if you say something wrong, don't explain it in your first language inside your head.
Just correct it simply or move on.
Like saying, yesterday I went home.
That quick correction keeps flow.
And flow is the goal.
In the next part, we'll do a longer, more emotional conversation where one speaker realizes in the moment that they've stopped translating.
And you'll hear what that feels like.
Let's slow this down and let it breathe, because this moment matters. This is the point where many learners suddenly feel something change, not perfectly, not forever, but clearly.
Yeah, this is the moment people don't forget.
Imagine we're talking after a long day. Nothing special, just two people sitting, a bit tired, a bit honest. I look at you and say, "You look exhausted. Long day?"
And my first instinct is to translate. I feel it starting. I want to build a clean sentence.
But instead of letting that happen, you pause for a second. Not to translate, just to feel.
And I feel it in my body. Heavy shoulders, slow breath. So I say, "Yeah, very long. I'm really tired today."
And something about that answer feels different.
It feels closer to me. I didn't search for the sentence. I recognized myself in it.
So I respond naturally. What made it so long?
Meetings, too many meetings, and no breaks.
You didn't explain everything.
I didn't need to. You understood.
That's the key moment. Understanding happened without perfect language.
And here's what surprised me when this first happened to me in real life. I didn't feel proud right away. I felt calm.
Calm is powerful.
My chest wasn't tight. My head wasn't loud. I wasn't watching myself speak.
You were inside the conversation.
Exactly. And then you said something that pushed it further. You said, "That sounds rough. Do you want to talk about it?"
And normally, that question would scare you.
Yes, because it asks for more words, more thinking, more risk.
But this time?
This time, I didn't plan. I just started. I said, "I feel tired because I work all day, and when I finish, I still think about work."
That sentence wasn't perfect.
No, but it was mine.
And your voice sounded different.
It had weight, emotion. I wasn't performing English. I was using it.
This is important for ESL learners listening. Speaking without translating doesn't feel like being smart. It feels like being present.
And presence invites the other person in.
So I responded with empathy, not correction. I said, "Yeah, that's hard. You need rest."
And that response told my brain something new. English is safe here.
Safety reduces translation.
And the more safe moments you collect, the more your brain chooses direct speech instead of conversion.
This doesn't mean translation disappears forever.
No, it comes back when you're nervous, tired, or emotional.
And that's okay.
The difference is now you recognize it, and you know you can return to feeling.
You return to the body, to the situation, to the moment.
And that's when English starts to feel less like a subject and more like a voice.
Before we close, I want to talk to you honestly, not as a teacher, not as a strong speaker, but as someone who remembers what it feels like to struggle inside a sentence.
That struggle leaves marks. People don't talk about that enough.
When you translate for years, you don't just learn English slowly, you start doubting your voice. You start thinking, maybe I'm not good at speaking. Maybe this is my limit.
And that belief is heavier than any grammar mistake.
Speaking without translating doesn't mean you suddenly speak fast or beautifully. It means you start trusting small moments.
Like answering a question without panic.
Like reacting before thinking.
Like letting a sentence be imperfect and still letting it live.
Progress looks different at every level. If you're A1, progress might be saying one short sentence without fear.
If you're A2, it might be answering without planning the whole thing first.
If you're B1, it might be telling a short story and staying in it.
If you're B2, it might be expressing emotion without searching for advanced words.
None of these are small wins. They are real wins.
And they don't come from forcing English into your head. They come from letting meaning come out.
You will still translate sometimes, especially when you're tired, especially when you care a lot about what you're saying.
That doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human.
The goal was never to erase your first language.
The goal was to stop hiding behind it.
When you speak without translating, even for one sentence, you feel closer to the other person.
And closer to yourself.
That closeness is why people fall in love with languages, not because of rules, because of connection.
So if you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. You don't need permission to speak simply.
Simple English can carry real feeling.
And real feeling is what people remember.
Speak from the moment. Speak from the situation. Speak from the feeling.
English will follow.
If this conversation helped you even a little, take a moment to follow the podcast and share this episode with someone who's struggling to speak without fear.
And don't forget to like this episode and leave a comment telling us what part felt closest to your own experience. Your voice matters, and we're really glad you spent this time with us.